Only in the Morning says Stace looks like he tried to sell you a tinny in the car park. I have no idea what a tinny is, but it sounds like a funny statement.
It's only like a small little amount of cannabis wrapped up in tinfoil.
Oh, okay. In
It's how
tinfoil? You guys use
yeah.
tinfoil?
Well, it's how you'd buy weed in a small amount in New Zealand.
Uh
So
huh.
like $20 New Zealand, you'd get like a little kind of pencil worth of weed like rolled up, usually about a gram.
You
But
don't
then
use
yeah, we get
plastic bags?
we get 50 bags. 50 bags is like $50 for a baggie, so that comes in a bag, or if you're getting like a half ounce or anything more. But like weed's still illegal here, so
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I mean we don't know anything about that. We're talking about in a video game. If you were to buy weed in a video game, it would come rolled up in tin. Welcome to the 53rd episode of the Cast That Ends Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is the show where I interview bands and public figures from the Mathcore adjacent communities. If you beautiful people in chat have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in. I'll try to read them aloud. If you'd like to sub for $5, you get access to exclusive emotes, as well as access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and other streaming services. You can also sub for free by attaching your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. It's like taking $5 from Jeff Bezos' pocket and putting it into mine. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this in your car and have no idea what I'm talking about, the show is first shown live on Twitch. Join us every Sunday and Wednesday at twitch.tv/thecasttheendcreation for the live cast. With that out of the way, let me introduce our guest tonight who dropped their new album, Nightmare Withdrawals, back in March. Welcome in Ben Atkinson of Blindfolded and Led to the Woods. How's it going?
Oh, hello. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Who do we have here?
This is Craig, my cat. She's standing for the rest of the band who are all working at the moment.
So getting blindfolded and led to the woods isn't inherently a bad thing. It could be for a surprise birthday party. Maybe your significant other wants to surprise you with an awesome view, or maybe you're trying to pitch yourself against the elements like in The Office. So put your band name into context. What's in the woods? Like, should we be afraid of it?
Anything you want, really. Like the whole name thing is supposed to be indicative of your own fears or your own interpretations. So some people have taken its pretty drastic measures. Some people have said, oh, you're that band that's this grotesquely evil thing in the woods, right? And then some people are like, nah, it's a good time. You go there, you're going to party and get loose and get up to trouble and have fun. So I think it's almost like sometimes a reflection of the person who makes the statement.
Okay, so you're going there to party with the Bigfoot. So the band started in 2010, but you joined in 2018. How did that come about? And what was your introduction to Blindfolded and Led to the Woods?
Man, I've known the boys since even pre-2010 when it was just Stu, Tim, and Jared. There were a three-piece called Sacrament, and my old band used to play shows with them around the southern parts of New Zealand. And so, like, I was a big fan of Blindfolded, like through the first EP, through to My Vaseline Diaries and Modern Adultography. And I think it was probably near the end of the tour circuit for Modern, where the band and Jared, the other guitarist, just decided to part ways. There'd just been some differences in, I guess, like direction, not creative direction, but the band wanting to move into a more mature phase of their career, wanting to take things a bit more professionally.
I was gonna say the early stuff is very, very much different from what they've got today.
Yeah, it's always been kind of a bit facetious, and like the guys always really cared and were really passionate about the music and the band, but the old stuff always had this big part of just having fun attached to it, and they wanted to be different. Like their first promo shoots, they were all like in bright neon t-shirts and crazy wacky haircuts, and it was all like overtly like not metal. But then as it's kind of gone on, they decided to be a bit more professional and kind of give the music a chance to really shine and be appreciated. Have artwork that reflects it, take ourselves more seriously. And I guess that's when they gave me the call and asked if I'd be keen to join. Been a few years since I'd even played metal, so I didn't know if I had the chops, but we gave it a whirl, and yeah, I think it was like a 3-year anniversary a couple days ago, so still here, still cranking.
So like we were just saying, it was very different back whenever the band first started. Did y'all still play those songs at the time that you joined, or were they just kind of like buried and forgotten?
The when I first joined, we had two songs that we were kind of road testing for Nightmare Withdrawals. That's the first and the third song on the album.
Oh, I
All
meant
the
the
other
stuff from
stuff,
like
though,
the EP and like the first album and such.
none of the EP stuff gets played, but we occasionally play tracks from My Vaseline Diaries. We played Father Harlequin a few times. We've got a show coming up soon, and we're bringing back an old classic there. But typically, most of the time when we're performing, it's just the last two albums, Modern and Nightmare Withdrawals.
Okay. Do the other members see like the what was it? The last album, Modern a Doxography. Do they see that as like the first album, really, or are they still like cool with like their beginnings? You know what I'm
I
saying?
think everyone's pretty cool with the journey because like you can't be where you are without the journey. Like if you don't include everything that's it's taken to get to where they are now, then it's not like a real true representation. And we kind of like that people can chuck on the EP and go, oh, holy shit, there's bits in here that aren't even in time. And then put on Nightmare Withdrawals and go, oh, well, shit, look at how struggling they were to get a record that was in time or polished sounding compared to now. So it kind of gives you that chance to like really look back and appreciate the journey. And I think like each release you can see the band gets tighter. They start to take things a little bit more seriously as it goes along. And I think it's ended up now with Nightmare Withdrawals being a pretty polished album. The guys really respect the material and the art of making a record. So yeah, we still love to bring back an old song here or there, especially the ones off Modern. A few of those. I think like there's a couple songs off Modern that if we were to re-record, they could easily kind of slip into Nightmare Withdrawals and not be really a stand, like they wouldn't stand out as not fitting.
I would say that y'all or the band before you joined really got their new sound down in Modern a Doxography. Like that's really where y'all started to like get into like your own where you are currently. Just to show people the difference here. This is the EP cover with the clown and armed to the teeth with jelly beans. So they went from that to this. Very big difference. You can see it in just like the album covers how much more seriously you guys take this now, and it shows also. Like you could tell that y'all put in serious work into this. It sees you pushing the sound that y'all started on in Modern, turning into a pretty unique sound. How would you classify your genre right now?
Oh man, the world's hardest question. Actually, when we were like starting to shop it around to labels, we were just like, oh, well, it's kind of hard to describe. And this guy that was kind of helping us said, oh, you need to give it a label. It's just prog death, like that's it. It's progressive death metal. That's what you say to people because you want people to just hear that and know what it's going to be. But since we've released it, nearly every review is a totally different genre, from, just standard tech death to, disso death grind to, what was one I saw the other day? Horror deathcore.
Horror deathcore. I like that one.
Yeah, so it's different all the time. When I talk to people who don't listen to metal, sorry, Craig. When I talk to people who don't listen to metal, I just say, oh, it's just death metal. Because if you kind of try and break it down more, they're just going to look at you like a stunned fish. But for most people that understand metal subgenres and whatnot, I just say it's usually like progressive death metal. It's got dissonant elements, it's got some tech elements here, but there's also like lots of groove and the occasional kind of mathy kind of weird time bits and whatnot as well. So
yeah, it's mathy dissonant technical deathcore. Like it's easy. It rolls off the tongue, honestly. But yeah, for real, this is honestly the best work that the band's put out. It's absolutely amazing. What were your current influences going into the album?
man, different for everybody. Stu writes pretty much everything. And man, he listens to heaps of shit. He's a huge Nile fan, as am I. He's a huge Cannibal Corpse fan, so a lot of that real classic stuff. But then he, also really likes stuff like Cynic. So a lot more progressive and nuanced in terms of dynamics. Yeah, I don't know if Stu listens to a lot of like dissonant stuff. And I mean, a lot of people have related us to bands and said, "Oh, this just sounds exactly like this," and it's like a band that I know none of us listen to. Like I saw this morning, someone said, "Oh, this is like this album from Decapitated," and I was like, "Shit, I don't even know if Stu even listens to Decapitated. Probably not. I wouldn't really think it's his vibe." So it's weird that a lot of stuff that people kind of think we sound like, I know we haven't really traveled along in our musical journey. But yeah, for me, like, one of my favorite metal bands is probably Artificial Brain.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I definitely love. I love listening to a band and going, I don't even know what the fuck they're doing. As a guitarist, not even knowing what they're playing. Like, because you have that thing as a musician where you listen to something and you can't help but analyze it. Like, I'll listen to a record and go, oh yeah, they recorded the vocals line by line, or oh, there's actually two bass bits going on there, or and you'll pick everything apart. And so for a lot of stuff, even like complex tech metal, you'll listen to it and you can kind of visualize roughly what they're doing in your head. But stuff like Artificial Brain, I just listen to and I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what's and I like that because I can just kind of actually sit back a bit and enjoy the music for what it is.
Y'all definitely have that aspect too. Your first song on the album, hold on, The Inevitable Fate of the Universe. You got a music video for it, and I remember listening to it and not really understanding what the hell y'all were doing on the guitar. And then the music video, I see you guys just like sliding up and down the strings and stuff, and I'm like, oh, like this makes sense. So you definitely have that aspect where, I have no idea what the fuck you're doing. One of the more interesting parts about your music are the chill sections that y'all put in. It's almost like indie rock in some parts. Where does that come from?
Man, a lot of that stuff actually was, I mean, the bones of the clean sections were written and rehearsed prior to going to the studio. But a lot of all the like kind of flourishes and those like indie bits kind of happened in the studio. Like in the song Lucid Visitations, there's kind of a piece in there that just sounds really like post rock. And it was just like, I mean, I play like a custom New Zealand made 7-string guitar, and Stu's got his 7-string Music Man. And there was just this beat up old like 6-string white Ibanez Strat copy from like the 70s or early 80s. And he just picked it up and started doing a little like fiddly lead thing. And we ended up like layering it in. So like a lot of those little flourishes and pieces just kind of happened in the studio. Like the dude we had who produced and engineered it, we actually flew in from Australia because we didn't really know anybody locally here, and we really loved his work. And he just like, because we recorded in a studio that's like for country music and shit, so pulled out all these pedals, which are pedals you're not really going to use in metal, and we just fucking went ham on them. And it kind of helped actually bring something totally unique to those clean sections. I'm actually really looking forward to the next album, because now that we've started to include these clean sections and a lot more dynamics, I think they're going to get even more whack and weird moving forward.
Honestly, I love them, man. Was there any reservations that other members had about putting that stuff in?
I don't think so. I mean, there was definitely one song where we struggled for quite a while to really lock down what we were doing. That would have been track 3, And You Will Try to Speak, because it's kind of got that, the first half of that clean section is kind of more inspired by Interpol, and then the second half, it just goes into this weird little kind of backbeat somber thing. And I mean, for me, when I hear that, I think, oh man, that reminds me of Between the Buried and Me, like Alaska era.
That's kind of
Um,
stuff I was thinking of too. Yeah.
yeah, and Stu probably doesn't listen to them at all, and he composed it. But um, for me, I was like, oh man, that reminds me of that heaps. And it took us ages to really lock that down and like get it where we wanted it to be, because it was such a jarring change. That song's pretty just like furious blasting for ages with no fills, and it's pretty fast. It's not really like complex, but it's just fast. And then all of a sudden, it's like bing, like ding, 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 ding,
Let's chill
like,
it down a little bit. Yeah.
amazing, like little backbeat thing. So yeah, it was a bit different, but people seem to really be enjoying that. So
So
I
are
guess we'll
y'all
just
heading in a direction where we're gonna get clean vocals on the next album? That's the next
we
step,
joke,
man.
we joke about it all the time, but
There were
at
actually
this stage,
tons of opportunities where that would have worked on here.
oh yeah, I mean at this stage I can't see it happening.
Are you saying
I
that your
can't.
vocalist is a bad singer?
Hey,
Shots fired, man.
I actually don't know if I've heard him sing much, but I'm sure he can pitch pretty well. I'm a fucking terrible singer, so I would stay very far away from that. I know Stu has some pipes on him as well, so maybe. I mean, I'm not going to rule anything out. Who knows? But it does seem like that logical next step, but we try to be illogical a lot of the time.
I like that. I like that. So what's the writing process like? You were saying Stu mainly writes the stuff. What's your input into this?
The Stu's our guitar player. He's written everything from pretty much day dot. So he usually puts himself in his studio and he'll write everything, and he'll send us guitar profiles, and we'll learn those. For the first like couple months in the band room, it just kind of stays like that. Like we learn the songs as they are, we play them as we're more comfortable with them. We each kind of change little bits here or there. So for me, it might be different voicings instead of just the exact note. You might find a little different harmony, or you might want to include using different effects in different areas. The clean bits themselves are probably the ones that get the most rewriting when we're kind of in the band room and in the studio, because they're open to a lot more interpretation, because they're typically a fairly simple section when we're presented with them. But yeah, Stu writes most of it. We each kind of add bits in.
Is there just to be clear, you're also a guitar player. I don't think we mentioned that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Is there any part on here that's like that's something that you wrote?
Nah, because Stu brings everything to us. I think like most of the clean sections, I don't actually play what was originally written, and that's just because I don't know. For me, I love the dynamic bits. I love the clean sections. I love the bits that are not traditionally metal. I went to jazz school years and years ago, so all that kind of stuff is more my fun time to play. When it comes to riffing, I'm just like, yeah, bro, you show me the riffs and I'll just do what I got to do. With the clean sections, that's where I like to kind of have my little bit of fun.
Okay, I gotcha. So you recorded at the Sitting Room Studio, which I guess is a country studio, like what you were saying. And
Yeah.
it was mixed by Samuel K. Sproul, who seems like a big producer. He's got a big resume of bands he's worked with, but I've never heard of any of them. Is he like somebody big in New Zealand?
He's a Kiwi, but he works out of Australia. He works with the drummer from Shehard, who's like New Zealand icon band, New Zealand rock band that's been around since the early 90s, which is probably our most famous rock band ever. So he runs a studio in Melbourne that Sam works for him there. He's worked with a couple big New Zealand bands, so like Alien Weaponry, who are like a bunch of young teenagers who do kind of a very accessible kind of core, kind of thrash core metal, but it's vibed with their New Zealand Indigenous culture, their Māori culture. So they tell stories about their culture and stuff. So he worked on that. Yeah, it's pretty epic, and it's well done. They're getting a lot of credit, and they're only like 16 to 19 or something. And Villainy, which are a pretty famous rock band here in New Zealand. But he actually mixed modern but we wanted to work with him right from the get-go. So we were sending him demos when he was in Australia and we were in New Zealand. We were sending him demos. We would catch up for chats over Zoom every couple of weeks, pre-lockdown. So we were trailblazers in the whole Zoom game there. And so we just like had a really good relationship with him. And he brought a lot to the table in terms of how we recorded it. Like he was a real badass in terms of like, do it again, like making sure it's perfect. Like I mentioned before, bringing all those pedals and different guitars and sounds to the table. We recorded it in like 7 days or something. I wish we had twice that.
A short time.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were there from like 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. pretty much every day.
But still, though, like it's a short period of time.
Yeah, it was. I wish we had a lot longer, because especially to like flesh out some of those bits that could have been like the clean sections or whatnot. Like, would have loved to have just had a lot more time on those. Yeah, and then we recorded the vocals at a friend's studio a little later. But yeah, all that stuff was done in a short time. The Sitting Room Studios is like in this tiny place called Littleton, which is just out of our city. It's like a little port town, heaps of like hipsters and whatnot. But it was like a tiny little house like up on the hills. So you like look out and you got the port in front of you. Real beautiful place to record. But it's like they record like they've recorded Marlon Williams there, who's like a kind of country pop New Zealand artist who's doing really well. He's won all these New Zealand awards, and they had recorded one rock band there. And then we walk in like death metal, and the guy who owns the studio was just like, "Fucking hell, holy shit!" But it was a really good studio, and we were all about like the vibe, because there's like a studio in town, but it's just like a fucking box, and there's no vibe. And we wanted to like be inspired by the space that we recorded. We didn't want to be in a fucking bedroom or in a dry brown box. We wanted somewhere that we could kind of set up like a house and chill at, and have instruments everywhere and like rugs and cozy shit. So it actually ended up being pretty cool as a space to record. I'd definitely love to do it again. And I think historically the bands always like flow into a different city to record. But like heaps of fucked up shit has happened in our city. And, we had like the earthquakes 10 years ago, which killed our best friend. And we had the terrorist attack here a couple years ago, where this dude just like we don't have gun issues and shit in New Zealand, but this dude, he's an Australian guy, walked into a mosque and killed like 51 people.
I remember something about that.
So like, we've had a lot of, tough shit go on in our city, and we wanted to like record this album here and have that be part of it. Like, we really wanted to make this album a cathartic album that had a lot of feeling and intensity to it. So we thought, if we just fuck off to a different city to record, we're not going to truly capture that. So that's why we recorded here, and that's why we flew the bro over from Australia instead of flying to Australia to do it.
Okay, so y'all are all about living the good life then. Like, you're getting that death metal money, you're gonna get some nice comfortable decorative pillows and stuff on the couches. I got you, man.
Yeah, the death metal money is in the necklace.
So yeah, you were mentioning a little bit. One of the things I do love is like the use of effects like phasers. You have bass cuts, tremolo effects, that spacey sound, and "Atop the Wings of a Magpie," which is actually a song that really showcases all these different effects. Really helps to break up the music, make it a little bit more interesting. So, did you guys decide to do all of that, or was your producer telling you guys y'all should experiment with that stuff?
Well, it was our producer that started it. I mean, he sent us 2 pedals he wanted us to buy before we recorded, which was like a Boss pitch shifter and a Earthquake Devices Rainbow Machine pedal, which is just fucking whack. Phasing, shifting, a lot of flanging, delay. It's fucking weird. It's the only way to really describe it. So we bought those 2, and then everything else there, we just threw out. And it was mostly his suggestion. But once we started going on it, it was like, oh fuck yeah, let's bring this in here. And you know, like there's one piece where I think it's in Black Air, and it's a tiny little like arpeggio thing, kind of where you know the riff's like doodle 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 doodle, and then it's got this like really high pitched squealing kind of arpeggio pattern, and we threw ring modulators over those, and so that idea from me was actually based on this old band from Christchurch who I loved when I was a kid called Cripple Mr. Onion. No one outside of New Zealand will
Wait,
probably know
what?
them.
Cripple Mr. Onion.
Yeah, but they use ring mod all the time. Like the bass player, who's a local legend, and the guitarist who made his own pedals, they would use ring mod a lot. So for me, like getting a little bit of ring mod in there was just kind of like an honorable throwback there. So once we did get rolling, everybody was kind of like, "Oh fuck yeah, this piece would sound sick with this effect here or that thing there."
Once you
So
get a
there was
taste of
lot.
the pedals, you get addicted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's weird because back in the day, I used to use heaps of pedals, and then when I joined Blindfolded, I was like, tuner, that's it, nothing else. But now it's starting to kind of build out again.
Right, there seems to be people in the community that are either like way into pedals or not into pedals at all.
Yeah, yeah. It's I guess each song requires different things. So, but I also don't like the idea of having to travel with fucking 2 bags full of pedals.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have a pedal board. Then you can just sling that over your shoulder and you're good to go, man. Only in the morning 42 saying Cripple Mr. Onion were sick, Fudd and Andy equal good, and I'm not gonna say the last part, but I think you can figure that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Fudd was the bass player. He played like 10-string bass, just a fucking machine. It's like a tabletop, and he's just fucking tapping over here. And that was like in the early 2000s. So he was definitely a trailblazer there. And Andy made all of his own pedals. Just a fucking genius.
You then had this mastered by Alan, and I think his last name is Duche. I'm not totally sure. At West Side Music, and they also mastered bands like Dillinger, Under Oath, Atreyu, and actually Auteur, which is a band I interviewed about a month ago. So what was it like working with him?
Oh, awesome, man. I think the band's worked with him at least on the last record, maybe even My Vaseline Diaries. Yeah, man, he's easy. He knows our shit and does a good job. So we knew we could trust him. And you know, one of my favorite bands is Nile. So I'm always just like, oh, who did the Nile shit? Oh yeah, cool, Alan.
Oh, he
Sweet.
did Nile too. That's sick.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, he's well respected, and so it was a pretty easy decision there.
Speaking of Nile, you guys got Carl Sanders to be on Atop the Wings of a Magpie. That's pretty crazy, man. Like that's one of the bands you look up to, and y'all got him.
Yeah, that was whack. That was kind of like a pinch yourself moment. Like we were in lockdown, and we only had a short lockdown here, like 6 weeks. But we were penciled into tour with Nile. They were coming over here with Ingested, I think, and we hadn't been announced, but we were it was us and an Australian band that were going to be doing the tour across New Zealand.
Dude, that would have been sick. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck yeah, Niall's like my favorite metal band in the world. Can't wait to do that. And then it got canned because of COVID, and that was obviously like fucking heartbreaking. And because we hadn't even announced it either, it was like, oh god, like we were going to open for Niall, and
your friends were like, yeah, sure, you were okay,
no,
whatever.
yeah, cool story, man. And then we saw that Carl was like, you know, like fuck, all my income streams are drying up from touring. You know, if anyone wanted to do like guitar lessons or any like kind of Skype chats or anything, and he chucked his email online, so we just emailed him, and like Stace the vocalist sent him an email and was like, hey bro, you know, we were looking forward to doing the tour with you here in New Zealand. Just wondering, would you be interested in like featuring on a track? And he was like, well, you know, depends if the track's any good. So we had a chat, and we thought, oh well, this track would be awesome for him. So we sent it to him, and he was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. And within a week, he like sent us back the files, and we were all go, just like that. Just super easy, awesome dude to work with. Fucking love everything he touches. So awesome to have him on board.
That's fucking sick. You guys also had a guy named Callum Gay on there. I have no idea who this is.
He's a New Zealand hero. He's the front man for Spook the Horses. So they're signed to Pelagic Records. Yeah, they're kind of like, each album of theirs is different, you know. Sometimes it's kind of leaning more like post rock than post metal. Sometimes it's post metal, but with a lot of a heavier, aggressive edge to it. But yeah, they're based in Wellington, New Zealand, and the dude's just a real good dude. And the start of that song in particular, we thought kind of reminded us of this vocal section that he had done on one of their songs on a previous album. So Nick, our bass player, had pointed it out, and he said, see what Kellen does here. This kind of style thing would really fit well on this song. So he just sent a message and, was like, hey, bro, do you want to feature? And he was like, yeah, sweet.
Nice.
So, yeah, got him on, easy as.
What's his band's name again?
Spook the Horses.
Spook the Horses. Only in the Morning 42 saying that they're heavy like Breach or Cult of Luna.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very, very sick band. Absolutely worth checking out.
So your artwork for Nightmare Withdrawals was done by a great mass, and they absolutely killed it. And I don't have it up right now. 1 second. There we go. Now it's up. It totally fits, like 100%. Not 100% sure what we're looking at, but it's awesome. So what's going on exactly? I have the album cover up right now.
Oh man, we struggled to find the right artist for ages, for a long time, as we did the album name. But once we kind of found the artist and looked at his style, we were like, okay, well, if we decide to go with Nightmare Withdrawals as the album title, that would fit with this style of artwork. So we just kind of sent him hey, this is kind of what we're thinking. And, he was like, do you want a male model or a female model? And we were like, fuck it, just kind of give us something in between. And, we wanted just like something heavy and traumatic in a sense. And he just delivered that to us. Good dude to work with. He's a Polish guy, Cesare. I don't know how to say his name, but yeah, so I guess just like the face kind of like going off into like ambiguity is something that ties in with the album, because a lot of, like I said before, someone called it horror deathcore, and a lot of people have used words like sinister, creepy, unsettling when they're talking about the music itself. So we wanted the album cover to really kind of capture that. I think one of the scariest things for the human mind is ambiguity, like those plain white masks that don't have any expression, no matter what context, they're still kind of creepy. And a lot of people are like scared of the ocean. It's a similar thing because you don't know what's around you. Same as in the dark. So just that whole awkward twisted body with the kind of head blowing out, you don't see any expression, and because of that, it kind of gives you that unsettling feeling.
So was that all the direction you gave them, was just like between male and female model and like something like spooky and ambiguous about it, or did y'all tell him I want the head to blow up and like the whatever to be dripping off his fingers and stuff?
No, so he brought a lot of that to the table. We actually went through a lot of his other work, and we're picked out like 4 or 5 images, and we were like, this is what we're thinking, this is the style we want you to kind of align it with. So we were able to draw on his back catalog. He's got heaps of shit on Instagram.
Right, I saw it. Dude, he's got so much good work. Dude's insane.
So we were just able to pull from his own works really as the inspiration, which was really cool.
So you also did some music videos. I'm actually gonna be playing them right now. We're playing the first track of the album. I already forgot the name of it, but so
the inevitable fate of the
there
universe.
You go, the inevitable fate of the universe. So who had the idea for the music video, and what was it like filming it?
That was our director, Amber Beaton. So she's a New Zealand director. She's a Māori woman who was based up near Taupō, and we hit her up to do a video because she does heaps of real sick videos for New Zealand metal bands. and she came to us with the treatment. So it was all her idea, and we just trusted in her vision. Really, we were like, cool. Well, you know what you're doing. We trust you. We've Blindfolded has never played their instruments in a video before, and there's kind of been a bit of a hesitation to do that. Like, we didn't want to just have us standing there like a bunch of fuckwits playing guitar.
Right.
So it was cool that it was quite choppy and like stroby. But we just like borrowed a warehouse. For anybody watching in New Zealand, I just went on Trade Me and like looked at empty warehouses in our area and found one and sent this dude an email and said, hey, can my band film a video in your warehouse? It was like this, and he was like, oh yeah, what kind of stuff? And I was like, oh, heavy metal. And he was like, oh yeah, but like Metallica. I was like, yeah, like Metallica.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Okay, then, and he didn't even charge us. He just like let us have the warehouse, and there was like an adjacent office block, so we could, you know, have a place to keep warm. And so it was in the middle of winter, and you know, have some soup and buns and shit. But Amber did an epic job. We filmed it in one night.
Damn.
Flew it, filmed it, and she got it back to us in like a fortnight or something. She was really quick, really professional, and once again, like, used that motif of ambiguity, like with the kind of white-faced dudes.
Yeah.
You know, because just that whole unsettling nerve is a really paramount aspect of the music and this album in particular.
Did the guy whose warehouse you rented, did he want you to pay him some money after he found out you weren't Metallica, or you weren't playing Metallica stuff?
Nah, and I was worried because like we got fucking fake blood everywhere, like on the concrete floor and shit. And you know, because at the end of the video, like, one of the dudes tips the vial of fake blood like all over the other dude, and he rubs it over himself in some sexy fashion, and there was like blood and shit all over the floor. And I was like, ah, fuck. Like, went to clean it up the next day, and was like, fuck, he's gonna hit me up like, what the fuck did you guys do in here? But I dropped the keys on. I never heard from him again, so all good.
You've got some subtitles in here. I was trying to scrub the video to try to find them again. But it's something like, has the dog something about teeth? I'm not really sure. Do you know what I'm talking about? What were the subtitles about?
They came from Amber, the director, and Stu. They were actually just bits of a dream that Amber had and some stuff from Stu's as well. So once again, that kind of nightmare thing just coming back in for them, for the inspiration, but also just confusion, you know, like, we didn't want anything that would just be blatantly like telling you a direct narrative or story. We want to leave it a bit up to interpretation.
And you also told me before we started the interview that the lyrics are based off of like your vocalist's nightmares.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. And it's nightmares and experiences, and
well, there's a lot that y'all talk about in here. Like, there's things about like relationships and the universe and all sorts of stuff. There's one about suicide. At least it seems like it's about suicide. So, like, he's dreaming all this fucked up shit.
Yeah, he has pretty hectic night terrors. He talks a lot about waking up screaming, and it's like an endless thing for him. And like, so nightmare withdrawals was almost like a thing for him of like, what would it be like for me to not have nightmares? Like, would I experience withdrawals from that? Like, the nightmares and the terrors are a part of his everyday life. You know, how would things be? Because you just assume like, oh yeah, well, if I didn't have this bad shit happen to me, my life would be good. But when you become accustomed to it and it becomes part of your artistic direction and creation, then what happens without it?
Y'all did another video for Atop the Wings of a Magpie. This was also the one that had Carl on what was it? Carl Sanders on it. And y'all did this one on Metal Injection, premiered it through Metal Injection. And looked like this did even better than y'all's album release. Like, y'all got more Spotify streams for this than your album release.
Yeah.
So, what was it like putting this out there, getting that crazy reaction? And what was it like getting the video together?
It was a long process, but because we worked with Zev Deans, who's a pretty well-known and respected director over in the States. So, you know, he's done videos for Cannibal Corpse, Mastodon, Behemoth, a bunch of like hip-hop artists, Chelsea Wolfe, stuff like that.
Okay.
So, and I think the video he'd done years ago for Portal, with the creaky puppets and shit, like that's been like a favorite of a couple of the guys in our band for years. And it was kind of like a dream that one day we might get Zev Deans to do a video with us. And a whole thing about this album has been just emailing people and just hitting them up and seeing, you know. So we emailed him and said, you know, we got this track with Carl Sanders from Nile, and we, you know, would love to do a video for you. Our budget's pretty small, but you know, once he kind of laughed at the initial budget, he was like, well, I have always wanted to do a video for Carl Sanders, you know, because fuck Carl Sanders. Yeah. So he jumped on board. And yeah,
so your investment with Carl's already paying off, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, it was odd because like it was all done remotely, you know, so we weren't really sure what it was going to look like until we got the final product, you know. I think we got at one point like the first like 20 or 30 seconds, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, you know. But then once we got the full video, I was like, oh yeah, cool, that's perfect. You know, we wanted it to be jarring and make people feel uncomfortable. And then yeah, I guess once we released it, it just cranked. We got a lot of Spotify plays because we were playlisted on like the death metal Spotify playlist. But they've just gone on this weird vendetta and started like, they deleted all their own like extreme metal playlists for some reason. Like their grindcore one, their death metal one.
That's weird.
Anything kind of extreme. And they had like over 200,000 followers on that playlist, and they just fucking sucked it out of there. So yeah, not sure why. I actually wrote to Spotify and was like, yo, why are you getting rid of all these sick playlists? And they were like, oh, why don't you go on Twitter and ask our gurus? And I was like, oh, get fucked.
What the fuck? It's such a dumb response.
We got like, yeah, heaps of good press from it. And I think that was, you know, partly because it's Carl Sanders from Nile. Right. And a lot of people, especially in New Zealand, at that point were shocked. They were like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're the bros that live down the road and you just got Carl Sanders on a track? Like, what the fuck? But then I guess like once we actually kind of started getting the album reviewed, it was nice in a way to see all these reviews talking about the album, and most of them didn't even realize Carl Sanders was on it, or they wouldn't even mention it. And it was like, cool, at least we know that the album isn't only doing good because we had Carl Sanders on as a feature, but actually some people overlook that because they just dig the album in general.
Honestly, I didn't realize he was on there until a couple of days ago, because I don't look at song names and stuff. If it's not apparent already, I don't look at song names, so I didn't even see that he was listed on there. I just thought that your vocalist had a sick range, like getting down that low. But so the actual like live footage in the video, y'all didn't film any of that stuff, like them in the car wreck or anything like that?
That was filmed over, man, I can't even remember. Was it in New York? I think it was in New York. But yeah, well, that was filmed by Zev and his team. They just hit up a couple models on Instagram and got a sick car, and then just went from there.
Dude, that's crazy.
So we didn't have to organize any of that. We paid Zev to do what he does. And
wait, so they wrecked a car and stuff for your music video?
Nah, I think he probably. I'm assuming the wreck part is probably stock footage, or something like that. But all the like arguing scenes, the two people on the car, all that stuff was all filmed. Yeah,
that's crazy, man. A lot of effort we put into it. That dude does good work.
Yeah. I mean, he went pretty hard on it.
Right. You guys also posted a guitar playthrough about a week ago. Looks like you're really pushing videos, which I really like to see. I think a lot of bands are kind of missing out on using videos. Like, it's another way to get your shit on another platform, you know. And like, while stuff like performance videos aren't the best thing, like you did it right, you know what I mean? But also, like, bands should be posting videos, even if it is just like a shitty performance video. Like, you get way more, get seen way more than if you didn't do
Yeah.
that. So
I think it's just
go doing a
like
good job.
it's expensive to do a video, and I mean, like, you hear what labels are offering bands to in terms of budget to film a video. It's like, fuck, what are you gonna film with that? Like a fucking phone video in the local supermarket, they give you like $500 or something. So videos are expensive, and I guess for bands that are probably in the same kind of field as us, like, independent or like newly signed bands that don't have big budgets, it's kind of hard for them to justify spending money there if you're not going to get a direct return on investment. But for us, we really wanted to have a lot of content with the album. Like, we spent a lot of our own hard-earned money recording the album, and we didn't want to not do it justice. Like, why fucking spend all this money and time recording an album and then put it on the internet and just think that it's going to be awesome? Like, you've got to back your shit up, like, provide content, make it interesting for the fans. Like, I would like to think that if I found a band and I thought they were sick, I can engage in that band in many ways. I can go watch their videos, I can check them out on Spotify, I can watch a guitar playthrough or a drum playthrough. I would like to feel that there's more than just one avenue of engaging.
To me, the saddest thing that I see is a band having a great album and they don't do any promotion for it. It's so just infuriating, man. Like, and I've known a couple of people that have done that, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, you got this awesome music and nobody knows it exists. You know what I mean? Like, you might as well have not even made it.
Oh, dude, like, New Zealand bands are terrible for it because we're down the tiny little island at the bottom of the world. A lot of bands here are really, really good, but they just don't get noticed because we can't just go and tour so easily and make ourselves known. But when we toured Australia a couple years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, when we went over there, I really saw like the difference in professionalism just from their local bands compared to bands in New Zealand. And I think for me it was like, man, we need to like step up our game a bit and treat the band as more of a business. Like, if we want to really like take it to the next level, we have to take it to the next level ourselves first, because no fans are going to take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously.
Right, exactly. And now the internet's come along, like, you guys can, you guys have done a really good job at like putting yourselves out there. I'm showing the playthrough video, and dude, you have a sick fucking guitar. Holy shit, that is
Thanks,
beautiful, man. What kind of guitar is that?
It's an archetype New Zealand guitar. So it's a dude in the North Island, this little town called Palmerston North, and he hasn't made a lot of guitars, maybe like in the realm of 10 to 15. But I bought like one of his prototype models off him a couple years ago, and it was really, really nice to play, like a lot of New Zealand native woods. And so I just thought, fuck yeah, I'm going to get this dude to make me a guitar. Done me a solid price, and I got to choose like every tiny detail of the guitar as we built it. Like, so it was really cool to have that option.
That's sick, and the fretboard looks so freaking good. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's swamp Cody, which is like Cody's a New Zealand native tree, but the swamp Cody is like it's been in a peat swamp for like thousands of years, so the wood's really figured and it's got like lovely kind of natural patterns.
Dude, that's awesome. It looks so good. So I'm sure actually you were telling me that you guys are going to be resuming shows in a little bit, which is awesome, man. Like, we haven't gotten to that point in the States yet. I'm waiting for that day. But so far, what's your best show been?
I think probably our show in Melbourne, in Australia. So for me, that was my first time playing overseas. So getting to go and play in a different country was really cool. And after the earthquakes we had here 10 years ago, where like 181 people died, it was fucking hectic. Our whole town was just flattened. Heaps of our friends all fucked off to Melbourne in Australia. So when we actually went over there and played, it was almost like playing a show back home.
Yeah, like
Like
a coming home kind of thing.
packed crowd, but like half the crowd were people we knew that we just hadn't seen in a few years. So that was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that show.
What's been your worst show?
Um, we played a show in Dunedin a while back, and there was a pretty small crowd. So Dunedin's like a town that's 4 hours drive south from where we are, and it was a pretty small crowd and a pretty standoffish crowd. You know, you get a lot of the whole arms crossed, kind of standing back.
And at the end of it,
Um,
they're like, "Good set, bro," and then just walk off.
yeah, it wasn't like particularly bad. I just think in terms of enjoyability, the night before we had played in Christchurch, our hometown, and it fucking cranked. And then the following night was just kind of a bit of a letdown. Um, I mean, the last time we played Dunedin was with Organectomy, who are pals of ours, and they're pretty big in the slam scene internationally now. So we played with them and Depths, who are kind of a kind of like progressive kind of Corey stuff, kind of like if Core met Meshuggah. So kind
So
of
like
genty, but kind of
okay, like
like
Periphery.
kind of more blast beats. And yeah, Swamp Dweller again, like a kind of like sludgy doom band. And that was fucking epic. Like heaps of people through the door, people going crazy. It was an insane show. So you know, you never know what you're gonna get in a lot of New Zealand towns.
You guys never like got in trouble or anything like that, like or like have your equipment go out or anything like that?
Oh yeah, that's definitely happened. Yeah, a lot. Like technical issues, they happen. One of the wildest ones was before I was in the band, and I wasn't actually there, but we were opening for Colossus, who are an Australian band, and Dawn of Azazel, who are like a pretty big New Zealand band, and the guitarist who I eventually replaced was absolutely just ridden off drunk, like absolutely shit faced. And apparently at one stage, like during the first song, they like look over and he's like upside down against the wall, like his head's on the ground and his body's up, guitar's completely out of tune, just absolute maggot drunk. And so the band actually just looked at the security and were like, "Get this guy out of here." And they kicked him off stage. So the band actually ended up playing the whole set as a 4-piece.
Jesus
And
Christ, that'd be a nightmare.
yeah, the song they played second was actually one off my Vaseline Diaries called "Sorry You're Not Invited." So they dedicated that to him as he was getting taken off stage by security. So there's probably like one that goes down in infamy. The other one would probably be I think the band had played one show ever, and there was this weird fucked up thing that happened where my band used to practice at the same sheds, but we've got like these storage sheds that we would play in. And next door was like the TV studio for like this kids TV show in New Zealand, like What Now and the Ellen
I
Simpson
was gonna
show.
bring it up. I was gonna bring that
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
and they had heard band practicing, and they like came over and saw Stu outside the gate and kind of talked to him. And I think maybe it was like they thought that we were a different band, like maybe a rock band that they had heard or something, but they pretty much invited the band onto the show. And so the guys were all real young. It's fucking embarrassing, but it's funny
Oh,
because
dude,
it's
no, it
gone.
was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, man. I actually
Yeah.
meant to have the video up, ready to go. I forgot to do that, so I'm getting it up right now.
And like last night on TV here in New Zealand, like Bill Bailey's been in the country and he's doing like a panel show with like New Zealand and Australian comedians. And one of the New Zealand comedians, because I was talking about Aaron Simpson, then brought up our band on TV again. So it's kind of the gift that keeps giving. It's fucking funny. I'm very thankful that I wasn't there because I get to kind of laugh at it.
Wait, so did this actually like broaden their audience?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. When the band was first starting, you know, a lot of people gave them heaps of shit. So like, this is just fucking deathcore crap. and just laughed at them and whatnot. And I mean, the whole thing is really funny, especially the band trying to like dance at the end.
Yes,
As
yes, that's one of the best parts.
um, but yeah, it definitely like broadened the band's horizon. And even now, like you get people commenting on videos that we post, and they'll be like, "Oh, damn, I thought you guys were a joke," or "Fuck, I remember this band from like that kids' TV show thing like years ago." And like kids have even turned up to shows in New Zealand and said like, "Oh man, I was at the Aaron Simpson show, and now I'm a big metal fan." And yeah, so it's pretty funny. But that's probably one of like the infamous gigs for the band. I don't think we'll ever live it down.
So, what was the first time when did you first see this, and what was your reaction to it?
I knew about it because we were friends and we'd all drink and party together. But yeah, I remember seeing it. I think just like as soon as they uploaded it to YouTube, and just tears of laughter, because it's like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, how do you get a death metal band on a kids TV show, like, of all things? And like, not only is it a kids TV show, but it was like New Zealand's #1 kids TV show. It wasn't like one of many. We're a small country, so this was like what kids watched. Like Aaron Simpson now is a New Zealand known celebrity, for sake of a better term, but like everybody knows her because they all watched her show as a kid. So
It really reminds me of a show that was on MTV, TRL, Total Request Live. Like, that's just crazy that that they were on that. That's just insane. Did this play any role in having you decide whether you're going to join the band or not? Were you just like, oh, I'm not sure I want to be a part of this?
well, I know the band like throughout time has like had periods of like not wanting to talk about it, hoping that it just fades into obscurity. But then I think they just kind of accepted it. Like, this is always just going to be a part of our history, and it is what it is. And it did help broaden horizons, and it means that we'll get brought up in mainstream media here or there in New Zealand. For me, I mean, I find it fucking funny. I'm thankful for the opportunities it's provided, but I'm also thankful that I'm not in it. Um, so I kind of get the best of both worlds, Like, they said to me the other night, like, "Oh, I feel bad for you that you have to cop shit for it," and it's like, nah, I don't, because I wasn't there.
Only in the Morning says Stace looks like he tried to sell you a tinny in the car park. I have no idea what a tinny is, but it sounds like a funny statement.
It's only like a small little amount of cannabis wrapped up in tinfoil.
Okay, in
It's how-
tinfoil. You guys use tinfoil?
Yeah. Well, it's how you'd buy weed in a small amount in New Zealand. So like $20 New Zealand, you'd get like a little kind of pencil worth of weed, like rolled up, usually about a gram.
You don't use plastic bags?
Nah, we get 50 bags. 50 bags is like $50 for a baggie, so that comes in a bag. Or if you're getting like a half ounce or anything more, but like weed's still illegal here, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, we don't know anything about that. We're talking about in a video game. If you were to buy weed in a video game, it would come rolled up in tin.
We were actually so close to. We had a vote like in our general election, and it was like something like 0.5% or 1% difference between full decriminalization or not. So like half the country's like, yeah, fucking who cares if you smoke weed? Like, I mean, if the cops actually caught you with a tinny or a 50 bag, they wouldn't give a fuck anymore. They'd just be like, yeah. Like, I mean, I work in health and disability, and if someone's like going and smoking a joint, I don't really give a shit. It's no different to having a beer or two,
Anomine, I think is their name. In the chat says the referendum was a fucking travesty. Y'all called it the referendum?
Referendum, yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's so good. Oh my god. So your album seems to be doing fantastic. Like I was saying, on the Spotify, y'all's streams are pretty good. What's the reaction been like?
Surprising. I mean, you just never know how people are gonna take
hold
something.
On, we're getting to the dance part. I gotta comment on some dancing. If she'll do it real quick.
Oh yeah, right at the
fast forward. We're right at the end of it. I love them in the back. Oh no, I fucked it up. It's so good, man. I don't know if you're like looking at the stream right now, but just oh my god, that's so crazy that they were involved in that. But yeah, I'm sorry I cut you off. What was the reaction been like for the album?
I think for me it was surprising, just because we're an independent band. We're like self-released under our own label. You know, like we're all the way in New Zealand. We worked with a PR guy, but you know, he's the same PR guy we've had forever. Like he did the last album and probably the album before. So, you know, I was expecting maybe a similar reception. To see it, I think like the first couple reviews were really cool, and then once we got like the big review on Metal Injection, then it was just like, fuck, we're getting like 5 or 6 reviews a day. I literally lost track of them because I was like, oh, I'll try and keep all the reviews in a notepad on my phone so we can come back to them for press quotes later. And I just lost track of them all. There was just literally too many. And the fact that nearly all of them were really good, like dropping album of the year calls and shit like that, was pretty surprising. But also fucking cool, because we did put a lot of hard work into it, and it's good to see that you can work hard on all aspects of being a musician, not just the music, but the art direction, the videos, the promotion, the PR, the marketing, all the bits that kind of come together. If you do work hard, you can kind of get the reps for it. So it's cool to see it doing well, and I hope that bodes well for whatever we do next.
Right, it's wild. You guys have been around for like, this is your 10th year anniversary, right? Or is this 11 years?
Last year was the 10th year.
Okay,
We
so
actually
11 years.
real sick show lined up for it, but COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's been 11 years, and this is the first time that like I've really been seeing you guys, like, you know, your music being spread around. So it's got to feel great to finally, like, you know, and we haven't like made it, but you know, like finally get your stuff in a lot of people's faces that wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
Yeah. And because it's still like reasonably unknown, I know that it's not just going to be that kind of month of holy shit, this band's awesome. I know that a lot more people are going to continue to find it as the year goes on. So I'm anticipating, you know, like this time next year, we'll have a lot more fans, and hopefully we can start actually touring overseas a bit more.
Right. I don't know if this means anything to you, but A Nomine in chat says the whole jazz saga was nuts as well.
Oh, that would have been from the Aaron Simpson show. So like back when the band first started, they had 3 guitarists originally and no bass player, but Nick became the bass player, and they had this guitarist Jazz, and they talk about on the Aaron Simpson show. Basically, he was a bit shit faced at a party and fell off a roof of an apartment building.
Oh, he's the guy that has both his legs broken? I thought that was just like a bullshit story that they made up.
No, it's a real story. I mean, he says that he was like sitting on the edge of the thing and like fell. I mean, I was at the party that night, but I had like left early. But I mean, I do kind of recall him talking about parkour and shit. It's like, was he out on the roof trying to like jump around and shit? But it was quite a few stories up, and yeah, and he fell, and he like, I don't even know what he busted, but a lot of shit from his feet right up into his back.
Jesus.
Yeah, man, like brutal recovery time. And like he was like laying down in this courtyard of this apartment building for fucking hours, because we were at like a big party, man. We were all fucking wasted, and nobody noticed he was missing, and he was just down in this courtyard for hours, just like screaming for help. And yeah, no one even noticed. So pretty brutal. But
shit, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, like hectic as. Yeah, poor dude, man. It would have been fucking painful.
Jesus.
But yeah, real story actually happened.
Holy crap, man. So moving on from that to what was the last album you listened to?
Last album, possibly. Oh, maybe this Australian band called Growth. I found them like at the end of last year. They were on the Australian radio show, the big one over there, and their song was on before hours or after hours or something. And I heard them, and I just fucking loved it. It was a song called Cigarette Burns. and it was really different and unique, and still quite raw. So they were like a three-piece. I saw the other day they've actually just added a couple new members, but they released this album called the Smothering Arms of Mercy, and it's fucking epic, man. I absolutely love.
What kind of music?
Oh, it's definitely like technical death metal, but kind of dissonant, but not real like that polished tech death. Like it's still really raw, and you know the vocals are quite emotionally jarring in points. It's really interesting.
Closer to like y'all's sound.
Kind of in parts, but definitely not as like full on riffs. Definitely more spatial, and it's got a lot more room to breathe. But yeah, they're not super well known, like maybe like 300 monthly listeners, only a few thousand plays on their songs, but it's really epic. I fucking really dig it.
So y'all have death metal playing on your radio?
Sorry?
Y'all have death metal playing on your radio?
That's on the Australian Triple J. They've got like a metal show there. We used to have a metal show on our New Zealand main rock station, but they got rid of that a couple of years ago, which is a shame because the dude Paul Martin, who runs there, has done a lot for metal over the past 30 years. But yeah, we don't have like a mainstream metal channel here now.
But there's one in Australia. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, they play like pop shit and stuff during the day, but they've got their metal show. Yeah, Triple J. Okay. It's pretty good station. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you can find that on the radio in the U.S., like, period. I don't think people want to even acknowledge that exists over here. That's crazy it sees, like, play on radio, like, overseas and stuff. What was your album of the year, either for last year or leading up to this point this year?
Last year would probably have to be Ulcerate.
Good choice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're just incredible. And I thought it was a really well thought out album. I definitely, like before that album, I preferred their earlier stuff as to where they were kind of heading, but I really liked the direction it's heading in now. The drummer is just a fucking madman, Jamie. He's incredible. And it's like an honor for people when they talk about our shit to even kind of use Ulcerate as their name, because for me it's like, damn, Ulcerate are fucking insane. Weirdly enough, they're more famous overseas than they are in New Zealand. Like most people in New Zealand who don't listen to death metal wouldn't have a fucking clue who Ulcerate are. Yeah. Like if someone listens to maybe like, I don't know, more accessible metal, you know, like kind of core stuff or gent or anything like that, they've probably never even heard of Ulcerate, even though they might live in the same city. Ulcerate's really big overseas, weirdly.
But yeah,
that album was really, really sick. I really dug that. And then second to that would have been the Growth album, which came right at the tail end of last year. This year so far, probably two albums I've been digging would be the Moral Collapse album and the June album.
I've never heard of either of those bands.
Both quite cool.
June's like, hold on one second. Moral Collapse, you said?
Moral Collapse.
Moral Collapse.
So that's just come out, and June is totally different. It's more like a kind of prog sludge, but yeah, very, very interesting music.
Is it June as in the month June?
June is in D-U-N-E, except it's a V instead of the U. Okay, I think they're a Scottish band, but yeah, that's a really sick album.
That's sick. So your streaming video has the logo for Landmine Records on it. Is that you guys?
Yeah, man, that's us. We shopped around the album at the end of last year, like October, November, and we used like Horlicks for like our online EPK, super polished, like it looked really good, looked really professional, had all the tracks, had the videos on there, and like most labels didn't even open it. And
you had the videos made before you shopped it to labels?
Yeah, we had everything done.
Damn, dude, y'all invested a lot into it up front then.
Yeah, we were like, we've got everything done. Like, here's a fucking package that you can just pick up and run with. And we just like didn't really hear anything back. I think Ben Wyman, his label, like he opened it up and he was like, we're not signing any bands, but this is fucking cool. So that was nice. But yeah, like you could see that the other labels hadn't even opened the link to like look at it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, I guess now like
Showing them
seeing
now, aren't you? Like you're really sticking it to them now.
I guess like seeing now that there is interest, it's like, man, you guys had this shit on a platter and no one even opened the email. But I guess maybe COVID had a hand in that. Like labels were just not interested in taking on new bands, not realizing that we had done everything for them. Because yeah, we already had like all the artwork done for the vinyl, everything, like merch lined up, videos, everything was good to go. But yeah, we just didn't hear back from anyone. So we were like, oh, well, let's just release it ourselves. You know, we're more than capable of doing it. We've fucking already done everything anyways. So we came up with Landmine Records, which is a throwback to the song from Modern, Licking a Landmine. And yeah, we just went that way. We hired a PR dude. We released it ourselves. And it means that we can still work with other labels with distribution deals. We've still got complete control and ownership of the music. And yeah, like, I mean, it's nice knowing that whatever money this makes will actually see back instead of giving 80% of it to a record label.
Right. So, well, it actually is, but y'all own the record label, so there you go.
Yeah.
So it's not really a record label. It's just something you're putting on there to look more professional.
Well, yes and no. So, I mean, it helps us in terms of being able to connect with other industry professionals rather than just being like the guitarist from the band or whatever. But at the same time, Nick, Stace, and Stu spend a lot of time with Landmine, and I think there is intention there to actually re-release some older recordings from other bands and probably work with bands of all genres, because all of us listen to heaps of different kinds of music. We're not all just solely metalheads.
Oh, that's sick. Okay. Well, all I could find was a Facebook page, so it didn't really seem like there's a lot being put into it. That it was just something that y'all were throwing out there. But that's really cool that y'all have plans to make it bigger. You guys also released cassettes through Sledgelord Records. How'd you get hooked up with them? I guess they opened the email.
Yeah. Well, they once we released it, I think Aaron had heard it and he was like, wow, this is fucking sick. And he hit up Stu on Instagram and slid into his DMs and basically was like, man, I'd love to do this if you guys were keen. And we hadn't really thought about cassettes. And we were like, oh, yeah, cool. Well, let's just line something up and get it done. So easy done, just like that. Little gentleman's agreement, and away she goes.
Yeah, he seems to be picking up a bunch of great bands lately. So you guys, for sale, you got shirts, you got CDs, you got vinyl. All of it's available at balttw.bandcamp.com. You got anything you can show off for us?
Yeah, bro, we just got a new t-shirt done. We're making a lot of merch nowadays. It's kind of my job, because I'm the merch guy. So
Pick it up just a little bit more. Get that whole design. That is sick. What is that supposed to be exactly?
it's like a kind of decomposing deer's head with a kind of decomposing snake running through it and a bunch of antlers and stuff. So it's kind of loosely based on the song The Obscured Witness.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, that's just one of many. We'll probably print like 50, 60 of those and then move on to another design.
Did you have any other shirts you could show us, or is that the only thing you got on you?
I don't have anything here at home,
Gotcha.
but we've got some more getting printed at the moment. So we're getting album tees, we've got some long sleeves and some skate tees as well. So there's definitely a lot of stuff coming through Bandcamp.
When are y'all expecting the vinyl to come in?
Shipping hopefully in about 3 weeks from Czech Republic to us. So we'll then ship it from there. So that's for our black gatefolds. So it's hard to tell. Like, we're really gagging to get out there and tour.
Y'all did
like,
a gatefold?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. All right.
We really want to tour New Zealand and Australia as soon as we can, but we need to wait till we got the product with us so we can actually sell it when we're out and about.
Right. What about like CDs and stuff? Y'all got those done, right?
Yeah, man, they're on the way. So we are expecting them within a fortnight. So we actually weren't going to do CDs at first because we didn't know how well the album would be received. So we were like, okay, well, let's just do vinyl. And and a couple
So
more
not the
downloads.
cheap option. Let's do the really expensive one first.
Well, like no one really buys CDs here anymore in New Zealand.
That
Like,
is true.
I mean, until very recently, I've had no way to even play a CD at home. But I got a record player. So we were like, fuck it, we'll just do vinyl and see how we go. And then heaps of people were like, what the fuck, make CDs, come on. And because the album was picking up steam and doing so well, we decided retroactively to do CDs.
That's hilarious, but it makes some sense. I see what you're saying. Like vinyl does sell better than CDs. uh, that's about all I had to talk about. Unless you had something else you wanted to bring up.
No, man, I guess I'm just stoked that it's being received well and people are connecting with it. It's weird music. It is hard to put in a box. And I guess because of that, it's like, fuck, are people going to gel with that, or are they going to go, this is weird, I don't get it? But people are getting it, and so that's cool. And it's a pleasure to be able to kind of chat about it and see it out there. Like, I mean, we're in a lot of like metal community groups, and we're always in there chatting shit. And it's nice to actually get to talk to people who are appreciating it and stuff, rather than just being like, oh yeah, cool, these are fans, and not really engaging with them. It's cool to actually just be on a friendship level and talk shit with people. So really digging that aspect of it.
I guess something we should bring up. You said you have shows starting back up again. So what are some of the ones you have lined up?
We've got one next weekend in Christchurch here with I Am Void, who are like a dissonant death metal band from Dunedin. They're definitely going to be like one of the New Zealand bands to keep an eye on moving forward, like, once they start releasing some more material. And bands Treachery and Fall of Them, which are not really in our genre, so to speak, but we really want to do shows that are showcasing different bands in our area and be able to cross-pollinate with fans and people. And then hopefully once we've got the vinyl, maybe like August, September, we'll get touring New Zealand and Australia, hopefully. I mean, the bubble's open between our two countries now. We can travel without quarantine.
Oh, nice.
So it means we can just go over there and play shows, and we can come back home and we don't have to spend 2 weeks in a hotel. So
Dude, that's sick, man. Oh my god, it's crazy that I think that that's amazing when because we can't do shit over here, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel bad, but the interviews we've done, like talking to people, and they're like, man, I haven't seen a live show in like a year and a half, and that's just fucking weird because we've been playing shows since, oh man, like September, October last year. Like, yeah, there's been no conditions on our shows whatsoever.
Crazy. That's what happens when a country has its shit together. You know what I mean? Like you could just, move on to life as normal. Are y'all? Yeah, I assume y'all want to come to the States at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was actually the main goal of this album, was that we would be able to tour the States and Europe. Like, that's the main thing we want to do. Like, we don't really care about signing to a big label or having that kind of appearance that we're doing really well. We just want to be able to tour. We want to be able to take our shit overseas and not go poor because of it. Like, I would like to be able to pay my rent and tour. So yeah, that's kind of our top goal, is to get overseas.
That is the dream. Be able to tour and pay your rent. I like it. Well, on that note, let's move on to the outro. If you're looking for something to listen to while you go, I'm sorry, I had that was the last outro. If you're looking for some crazy dissonant death metal, you should definitely check out Blindfolded and Led to the Woods' newest album, Nightmare Withdrawals, which came out back in March. You guys are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I believe it was Twitter too. I think I tagged you on Twitter.
Yeah, we just started the Twitter. Okay. It's fresh.
And so check them out, and you're on all the streaming platforms. Are there any other social plugs that I'm missing? I'm sorry, my notes are all messed up.
Nah, I think that's it, eh? That's all our things.
Okay, sounds good. As for me, drop me a follow so you always know when I go live. You can also sub to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube, as well as access to some exclusive emotes. You can also sub for free by attaching Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube folks, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, tickle the notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support me for free. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, at thesoundthatenscreation.bandcamp.com. My next guest is Louisiana-based chaotic hardcore band Capra, whose debut album, In Transmission, drops this Friday through Metal Blade Records. Join us this Sunday the 25th right here at twitch.tv/thecastthatenscreation for the live cast. Thanks for being here, Ben. Hope you had a good time.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. Great chats.
Hell yeah. And thank you guys for watching and listening.